That texture is kind of like Play-Doh, you know?
Mm-hmm. Also warm. It feels
It's
so
warm.
good from going
it's
through
warm,
the
fresh
mill.
masa.
Hi everyone, I'm Saffitz. I'm in Austin, Texas. We've been hanging out with some local chefs. I'm a little bit speechless. I can't even really describe how good it is. Next up, I am going to go over to La Condesa restaurant in downtown Austin and meet up with Chef Rick Lopez.
My Casa Mojo. What is it? Casa Mojo Casa House? Mojo Dojo Casa House?
He's going to show me the process of nixtamalizing corn, grinding fresh masa, and we're going to be making tamales, which is truly one of my favorite foods. It's something I've never made before. I'm so excited. So like, I'm generally familiar with the idea of nixtamalization,
Yes.
which is taking corn and like subjecting it to a kind of like soaking process involving limestone. Feel free to correct me at any point.
No, yeah. It is limestone or slaked lime. Calcium hydroxide is the name behind it all.
Okay.
So essentially, yes, we will treat that corn in a bath of that solution. It usually takes about 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
We want those little like coats of the kernels to like slough off a little bit and really be an al dente bite.
So when people talk about fresh masa, they're talking about that ground corn that's been nixtamalized.
Yes.
And it's this kind of, we were saying like, is masa a dough? And Rick said, yes, it's a dough.
Yes.
And the menu at La Condesa has masa everywhere, pretty much.
Yes.
This is like a sort of central part of the food that you do here.
It is, and we joke like if we don't have the masa, actually it's not a joke, it's real. If we don't have a masa, we don't have a restaurant. So a lot of technique goes into that start, and then we can turn that dough into anything that we want to.
We're also going to be flavoring that masa for the tamales and adding a filling.
Yes.
Or a couple fillings.
A couple fillings. So
Okay.
we'll do a yellow corn with sweet potato, and then we'll do a blue corn with mushroom filling inside. But basically trying to impart some of that texture and that flavor of the puree into the masa. So when we fill it in, everything will balance out nicely, and you'll have not just your filling, but also the base of the masa flavored as well.
Awesome. So basic ingredients, it's just corn.
We're going to use yellow corn from Barton Springs Mill, and we typically get some American race corn. We get some from Mexico, blue, yellows, reds. This one is yellow this morning. It's American yellow corn that we're going to use. I tell people that have never done this before that it's the corn that all the deer eat. So we'll treat it nicely, cook it down, and get it to how we can process it.
Got it.
Yes. This is our water. We have everything weighed out to do a batch of 10 pounds of corn today.
Okay.
This is deer food right here. And there's a bunch in my neighborhood right now, so they would love this.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
that is the calcium hydroxide.
Okay.
And it's something we have to be really careful with when we get it into our kitchen because it's a solution used to cook really hard kernels of corn. So it's like gold to us. And so 80 grams of this solution, 10 pounds of that corn, and then the water.
Is that like burning if you touch it?
Yeah.
So it's caustic?
You know what it's like? It's like pink salt for curing and when you're making patés and whatnot. So this is our pot here, and I like to get it first to a boil.
No salt in there.
No salt.
Nothing.
No salt.
Okay, no
Yeah,
salt.
we'll-
He's like, did
Yeah,
not put
we'll
salt
introduce
in.
salt later.
Okay.
So I get it to boil first, and then sometimes people take the water out and make a slurry. I just go directly in because it's so vigorous of a boil.
Right. Okay.
That I'll just get everything incorporated that way. Kind of clean out that.
When you're making it for the restaurant, what size batches are you starting with? for
So
the
we
corn?
do, at least every night, we do about 40 pounds
Oh wow.
overnight. And that'll
Wow.
be, if we're doing like 40 pounds of yellow, we'll probably do 20 pounds of our blue. Just because we sell more of the yellow for actual tacos.
This was 10,
so
right?
like we're using the small pot today. But like if we're envisioning like those
That
two that
one,
are up
yeah.
there, and then maybe one on that burner.
Wow.
It's a lot, and we do it at the end of service every night. So you finish your service, you're like wiping down, and then you're like, oh, you gotta cook this corn. But if you don't start at the nighttime, you won't have tortillas
For the
come
morning.
time.
Got it.
So it's a labor of love.
It just doesn't quite look like boiling water.
It's a cloud of calcium hydroxide now. So that's boiling, and then
Okay.
we'll go in with this corn,
Okay.
and then we're just gonna go right in. So what it's done now, it's not gonna boil anymore.
Okay.
And now we don't want it to boil.
Okay.
You just want it to kind of give little bubbles every now and again.
So just make
So-
sure there's no sticking on the bottom.
Go to the bottom, kind of give us a little bit of a whirl. Once we do our 25 or 30 minute cook, it almost probably doubles. And it gets close to doubling, so it'll puff up really big. We'll keep tasting it. So I go about 25 minutes on the cook, and I think 25 minutes is the sweet spot of where the al dente is gonna be. And then at some point, the magic happens where you'll smell it.
Okay.
It smells so good.
You don't stir it?
I'll go every now and again. I'll go
okay.
every now and again,
All
so
right.
we'll keep our little
paddle right there?
paddle right there, yeah.
Okay. On your timer, it said how long?
So I'm at like 26 and a half. When we checked the last time, we're already starting to like remove that jacket. So we're gonna see what we have.
Oh yeah, like on that guy?
Yep, and you can see them already. So I think, I mean, shoot, let's bite into one.
Yeah, it's definitely...
We're good.
Okay.
That texture right there, that's good. So then, all we go is to off.
Okay.
We'll take this away from the heat sources. We'll let it hang out for 12 hours.
Yeah.
If we were to take this out now, it would not be a good solution for tortillas. It wouldn't be a good solution for the tamales. You want it to soak up the last little bits of the party.
Right.
And then we rinse it off and we start its new adventure.
Got it.
So this is what we did last night, and it's kind of made like this little pond where you can still see the corn, but some of that solution is on the top, and that's perfectly normal. When you put your hands in it, you feel the sliminess of it, which is what you're looking for, because then we'll get rid of that through the rinse.
Okay.
So I know people think we don't use our hands, but I like to go all the way in and make sure.
They've seen me use my hands a lot, that's fine.
Good. And I'm just really trying to check for if there's like any clump buildup.
Like any kernels that have just stuck together?
Yeah, anything that's like stuck to the bottom, like if they didn't stir it enough. If you wanted to, you can use this to scoop.
Okay.
This is the water, and then we're just going literally till it's clear water.
The texture is really different. I mean, I guess for lack of a better word, slimy, but just like slippery and smooth, I guess maybe sounds better.
How's the bottom look? Is it clean?
Totally clean.
Yes.
So then just cold water?
Yep.
Oh, this is fun.
Cold water on the coldest day. And then like as it starts to like, you've cleaned it like from the bottom, I kind of rub it just a little bit. There you go. And you'll start to feel them remove themselves.
I see.
And when you're getting to that clear water stage too, all the solution is 100% off of that. Now we're gonna see how well we did now dumping into here.
Yeah, so you can see the little
out.
pieces.
These are the guys that are not coming to the party. That's good. See that?
Yeah.
That's the catch. I'll fill this up and then like strain it out one more time.
Okay.
That's bad stuff.
You don't need that.
And it doesn't taste good? Is that the main issue?
It's really for the milling it.
Does it get stuck in the mill?
It'll start to clog up in those little grooves
Yeah.
in the stones.
Does it make it like gummy a little?
I think so. People don't think so.
Okay.
I do think so. Because you don't want like a super gummy tortilla.
Yeah.
You want it to be like soft and airy still. So we're gonna get some of these impurities out. Probably rinse it 2, maybe 3 more times. I'll rinse this first, make sure we get all that out of there, and then really try to make this a clear solution. After that, then we'll go upstairs and we'll start to mill this. The way we had to do it is we had to get a new power source specifically for this one, only for this one, and then put them on these like 2x4s. So it wouldn't like rattle through the ground.
I see.
And as we funnel in, a little daunting at first because this is like grabbing your corn. So safety first, just don't get too close to the...
Don't put your hand in it.
This is what we call our gusano, or our worm. It's like a 1980s flick where it's just like tremoring the corn all the way down. And we don't want to get caught into that system. We want it to filter in to the stones and then come out this bottom part right here. So this is it. This is the texture that we were talking about, from all the way from the cook to the rinse, and then adding a touch of water as we mill it through. I mean, it smells really good right now too.
So good.
So like that's the fun part. But that texture is kind of like Play-Doh, you know, and it'll stick ever so slightly to the palm, but it's just like a small little film.
It's also warm. It feels
It's
so
warm.
good from going
it's
through
warm,
the
fresh
mill.
masa. Yeah. So you can actually taste this at this point right here. I mean, you know what we're getting at. It's a nice, sweet corn, soft. It's ready for whatever we want to make it now. Tortillas, quesadillas, tamales, which we'll do in a little bit.
I'm so used to working with a wheat dough where the wisdom is like, don't overwork it because of the gluten. But with corn, there's no gluten. Can you overwork masa?
No gluten. You can take this to dry. You can give it to a 4-year-old. They can roll it around for like hours. And it'll dry out, and then you can reconstitute it again with just a little bit of water and bring it back to making that 4-year-old eat a taco or tortilla at that point.
Awesome.
But you're not going to overwork it.
Okay.
It's not going to be gummy or anything. Because then once you go into tamales, we're just going to basically treat this like a dough. So it'll get puree, liquids, and then oils. So it's ready to take on more. It's ready to go to its next level right now.
Cool.
If you're at home and you've bought like the dry maseca, you can add water to this or vegetable stock, whatever liquid you're looking for at that point, and you're ready to go.
So now we have this fresh masa, fresh ground masa, that's this kind of perfect dough consistency, not seasoned yet, just corn and water basically. And now we're going to take it back down to the kitchen and start to make our
Tamales.
mixture. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All oyster mushroom?
Oyster mushrooms.
Okay.
We get these local from like small holds. If you want to, you can just sweat these down, get some texture on them. I have oil. So what I like to do, super hot pan, and then in with the noise, how we train in the kitchen. If you don't hear it, it's not cooking.
I had chefs yelling at me in culinary school that my pan wasn't hot enough.
So we'll get color and texture.
Okay.
And then this will essentially turn into one of our purees for our blue corn tamales.
Yeah, one thing I learned on my trip to Mexico City, I really learned about just the presence of mushrooms in Mexican cuisine. That there's like so many amazing mushroom-based dishes and like mushroom varieties.
Yeah. I actually learned this recipe with one of my buddies in Mexico City, Joaquin Cardoso. And we made these together, and all it was blue corn, mushroom puree, and no filling, a spicy green salsa. And it was the best thing. It was so good. Like all the umami was there. But a lot of what mushrooms are in Mexico City are like that meat substitute, or something to add to a soup or a caldo. And you're right, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
We can put all these shallots if you want. We can put all this garlic, however you feel comfy.
I'd say all of it.
Yep. Because essentially we're trying to build that flavor in our base also.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it smells so good.
You can smell it, I know. So a little bit of salt and pepper, and then cooking mushrooms too. You get to that like crispy level. Might need a little bit more oil. And then the mushrooms will start to basically leach some of their liquid. We'll let them leach, and then we'll cook that down again so it reduces back into the mushroom.
Right.
So it's really concentrated. It's the technique I use from the French kitchens, right? When you're making soup, you sweat your vegetables, you let everything kind of leach out, and you bring it right back into the vegetable again. And then you puree and you have like an amazing velouté. So I turned this off in here.
Okay.
We'll puree these, and then we want it to get to that really silky puree texture. So if we didn't add enough oil into it now, I have some over here for us.
Okay.
And we'll get it to a perfect smooth puree.
Okay.
The purees need to be pretty strong in flavor, very powerful. Because once it goes into that masa, corn is sweet. Corn has that like whatever that corn flavor is. So you want this to be nice and savory, salty, mushroomy. Whatever you're trying to impart with this, you have to make sure that it's known. Tastes like mushrooms. I'll shovel some in there. Like I said, if it's not gonna like have a lot of fat into it, we'll put some more.
Okay.
So it's almost like the reverse of like a duxelle, where you would buffalo chop mushrooms first.
Yeah.
And then take all that, cook them in your pan or your pot or whatever.
Right. So that was more of the Texas olive oil?
That was more of that olive oil right there.
Okay. Are you going super smooth?
We're gonna try to go super smooth.
Okay.
And I'll add a little bit more. And then if need be, we'll add like a little bit of water just to get the spin in there. And if we did it right, this will equal the 750 grams we need for our tamale mixture.
Okay.
Add a touch of this water. So here's our texture.
So
of
it's
the
almost like a little
mushrooms.
whipped.
It's a little whipped. It's got the air in there. It's got the fat.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Kind of looking for that fall off right there.
Mm-hmm.
If we find any clumps, we'll be able to get them out one more spin, but that's kind of what I'm looking for right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because the texture in the tamal will be similar to this. Yeah, it smells like a mushroom soup right now.
We have our two different fresh masa,
Yes,
yellow and we blue over there.
yes,
We're gonna start with the yellow mixture.
of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the one we've seen from start to finish. This is, now the recipe is we have 1,000 grams of our masa,
Uh-huh.
which goes into our bowl. And then we have 750 grams of this ash roasted sweet potato puree.
Uh-huh.
And then the main important big things to it are the liquid and the fat that goes into. So this is just 250 grams of vegetable stock.
Uh-huh.
And then we have our Texas olive oil again, that's another 250 grams. And then salt is at 30 grams.
Okay.
So the way we like to do it here is this goes in first. I build some energy with that one, try to warm it up just a little bit.
Okay.
And then we'll go in with our puree and water next.
Okay.
And as that starts to come together, it's like I said, it's almost like a creaming method for making a cookie or anything like that.
Yep.
We add in the fat, we add in the oil, that's gonna lighten it up again. And then this will be our binder to making our custard feel for tamales.
Got it. So it's not just like throw everything in together.
No, I like to
Mix.
start a little bit slow and then build everything in. When you see it come together, it kind of makes sense too, like incorporating the oil, squishing it together with the...
To get that kind of emulsified texture.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Okay. So we got the paddle.
Yep. And you know, like when we first scraped it out of that little molino, it was nice and warm.
Uh-huh.
You know, this one kind of chilled out on us a little bit. So I guess important thing is to, when you're making these tamales, is keep that room temperature or slightly warm.
Uh-huh.
So when you're going into your bowl right here, you've built up a little bit of energy to incorporate your liquid into your fat.
Got it. Okay. And everything else is room temp.
Room temp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just looking for this to like loosen up a little bit in texture. Okay.
And we can, even at this point too, we can go ahead and scrape the puree in there.
Okay.
And start to squish everything together.
Okay.
Because once water hits it, you'll see it all start to get together nicely.
Turn it up a little.
Let's see, we're gonna turn up. Yeah.
Okay. Should I give it a scrape?
Yeah, we'll scrape down into there. And then after this scrape, we'll add probably about half of this.
Okay. That's the
liquid
veg
in there.
the veg stock.
Yep. And then just kind of bring it up slowly again.
Because obviously you're adding the puree is adding some moisture too.
Adding some moisture too. And it always gets a little scary because then it looks wet, too wet to like people's eyeballs. But if we're okay.
Okay.
We're gonna be just fine.
Go in with the rest?
Yep.
Okay. The consistency is looser. Turn up the speed
Yeah,
or
let's turn it up just a little bit.
Okay.
That looks good. This is the emulsification part, squishing the water molecules with the oil and fat molecules together to create that really fluffy texture. And when we go into it, you can start to drizzle it lightly.
Okay. Like I'm making aioli, like that slow?
Yeah, to find that like perfect little stream.
Okay. Is it making it into the bowl, I hope?
Yeah, you're all the way.
Okay. So all the oil.
All the oil's in. It's got that cool like fluffy texture, and then
Yep.
30 grams of salt. All right, we're good to go right there.
Okay, so this
Now,
is done.
We're done. We can taste that too. We can kind of see like what the final's gonna be like.
Okay.
We'll heat up banana leaves, get them pliable, start to fill in our masa,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll fill this one with Cochinita Pibil.
okay.
So, braised pork.
You can see that texture.
Yeah, it looks pretty.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like you're tasting the future right there. Future tamales.
Yum.
So if we're like getting ready for service tonight, I would probably say we're gonna go 60 grams of our masa,
Uh-huh.
and then 50 grams of the Cochinita Pibil, which is like a nice little tight tamale. You could probably eat 3 of those,
Okay.
and that's how we'll do it today, so we can snack later. These are just banana leaves that we've cut down.
You use banana leaves in the restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
What other kinds of wrappers? Because I've definitely seen corn husk.
We can do corn husks. We use banana leaves, and maybe it's just me and how I've thought about it, but like when you get into this, it adds a little bit more sweetness into the actual masa flavor itself, and it makes sense that way. Also, optically, the way it looks at the end, it's a little bit more smoother.
Yeah.
On the outside, when you get that like the custard feel to it, that sheen onto it. So I'll have to go over to that grill and just kind of like lightly get them through.
So that's softening it, but are you also getting a little bit of smoke on there?
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of that. So it's not much, but it all kind of ties in together.
Yeah.
You want to try some?
Sure.
All right. And then, like, for context, it feels like almost like kelp or like seaweed.
Oh, okay.
The final
yeah.
product. That
So
one
this
looks
feels, that's good.
good. Oh yeah, that feels good.
Once they start to sweat a little, that's a good sign.
Yeah, because that little tiny bit of moisture in there, that's what's helping it kind of like.
It's kind of steaming
open up for
itself.
us. Yeah. We'll do 60 grams of this masa, and then we'll do 50 of this Cochinita Pibil.
Is this on the menu elsewhere?
This is on the menu for dinner.
Okay.
So we serve it like this with tortillas and black beans, and traditionally a Yucatan dish. Typically they use a whole pig or a baby pig, marinated in achiote, garlic, tomato, onions, slow cook it underground in banana leaves, and it falls apart beautifully. Tastes very acidic, tastes a little bit sour with sour oranges.
Yeah.
And it's gonna look pretty. The colors of like the orange and the red.
Yep.
So the first one goes. I like to use
Yeah,
this.
you show me the first one.
And the ratio is pretty important to us because we want it to like show some of that once you get the final product. Kind of shimmy onto it.
So the goal is to get the masa mixture surrounding
the hole, so it's making a bed for that filling right there. And then just finding kind of where it ends for you. And then to reinforce, we have a little bit of aluminum here. Typically when we make a batch, it's gonna be like 25 or 30 that come out. You gotta make sure that they're still taken care of in their pouches, so a little bit of like that deli style roll for your sandwiches. So that's one.
Okay.
And we'll make, I don't know, I think we got like 10 or 12 ahead of us
Okay.
right now.
So starting with 60. Okay, pretty close. And then leaving it this dimension and then folding up.
You'll kind of feel it kind of like get to a certain point right there, and that's where you can kind of flap into it and close it over.
And then you do
Rock
it?
and roll. Yeah,
Okay.
deli roll. I love it.
Okay.
So we'll do the same process with the blue corn, the
Okay.
mushroom filling, add our fat and our liquid. Same exact technique that we're going through right there, just with different masas. And we'll get this cooking and prepped all at the same time.
As far as the cook time, you know, like, it's hard to test them because you don't have to unwrap one.
Yeah, so this is 30 minutes. If we're like lining them up like records and putting like almost 2 batches in there, it's probably gonna be like 45.
Okay.
Just to make sure everything is like touched by that steam bath right there.
Right.
But we're
Okay.
good to go. We have plenty of room right there.
Cool.
Yeah, and then after that 30 minutes, the important part is to let it hang out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Rest and relax.
So here, obviously, you have the hotel pan, but if you're making these at home, you have just like a steamer basket,
You
basically?
can use a steamer basket. I think that's perfect, actually.
Okay.
Something where, kind of like that strainer we used earlier, something where there's going to be some steam and action going through, and for sure covered. All right, 30 minutes, and then we come back and hang out.
Okay. They smell so good. I'm
They
so
do.
hungry.
They're awesome, yeah. We'll go this side up so we can unfold. And then what we're gonna see first is our work
Ooh,
of
oh my
the
gosh.
seal. It's the ash roasted sweet potato, the Cochinita Pibil, and then our masa to encase it all.
Without the Cochinita Pibil, it's vegan. There's,
Absolutely. That's pretty good.
they're so good.
Pretty good.
Yum.
When we're initially putting that batter into the banana leaf, you gotta be careful with it, you know, it's like this really love and tender type situation, but when it steams out and looks really shiny and beautiful, that's really what we're going for.
Yeah, the change in texture from that sort of like more liquidy batter, it's so incredible.
It's almost like, because I love like key lime pie, like that scenario.
Yeah.
It almost feels like that obviously super savory and like fatty with the texture of the pork, but I'd say we nailed it.
I do think you get a little flavor from the banana leaf.
Right? Like when you smelled it, you're like, okay, you smell that, now you have a little bit of that taste in the background. My favorite way to eat cochinita for sure are these pickled red onions. And then we have a really creamy salsa verde that has like some kick to it.
Okay.
And then we have a salsa, basically a raw salsa of tomatillo, serrano, jalapeno chilies, garlic, and onion. These two would be like the rock and roll phase of our tamale eating area. And this one's a little bit more creamed out and not so acidic, but this guy right here is the one. And that's kind of like, you know, when you're looking at pictures of food from the Yucatan, this is like what you envision. But the onions are really, I don't know, pickled onions forever.
I'm a big fan of any kind of like protein wrapped in starch. So many textures and flavors, and I love the little acidity from the pork. But then I think like at the heart of it is that nixtamalized, like that minerally flavor from the corn. You said that your family makes these. Is it like a holiday thing?
Yeah.
That's common for the holidays?
I think it starts, we like to think it starts in Christmas time, but really I think once Halloween's over, people are thinking like tamales and like how many we're gonna get, how many we're gonna do.
What's the family favorite as far as filling?
Spicy beans.
Sounds so good.
Yeah.
Can we try the blue ones?
These are vegan bites, essentially right here. I think the color is beautiful.
Against the green leaf, it's so pretty.
Like those earth tones.
Look at the texture. See if it kind of like wobble.
Yum, yum, yum.
Super umami, like super savory. So much mushroom flavor, but I also think that it goes so well with the blue corn.
To me, the blue corn isn't as sweet or maybe as a round flavor as the yellow corn, but it does have a little bit more savory background to it, so it goes good with the mushrooms.
I'm so happy right now. From seeing what in the kitchen to trying the tamales here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Tell people if they're visiting Austin or people who live here, like about La Condesa.
Yeah, La Condesa this year in 2024 is going to be 15 years old. I have been here for 13 years, and it's basically a love story, a love note to Mexican cuisine and how we source our ingredients as local. But I want to make sure that when you're here, you have a good time too, eating and hanging out with us also.
I'm gonna eat another. I'm gonna eat another.
Let's do it. We got a lot to go through.
Okay.
What am I saying? What am I saying?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, and don't forget to like and subscribe.